For the purpose of this video, I don't want to get too deep into the how I achieve financial freedom and the steps involved. I think that'll be for future videos. For this specific video, I want to focus on the why I left the rat race and choose to live a simple life and recognize what's enough. And I'll talk more about the why later in this video, but in this specific section of the video, I want to give a little bit of update on simplyfreely.com, which is a web app website that I recently started. It's a place for me to build tools and calculators to share what I've learned on my journey to financial freedom so that it can help other people to better understand their finance and how they might achieve financial freedom as well. So the reason I was able to achieve financial freedom and just leave the rat race financially speaking is because of the FIRE movement. And if you've never heard of the FIRE movement before, it is not a hack or shortcut of any kind. It does require years and years of aggressive saving, intentional spending to achieve. So it's more like a framework or a way to help people better understand how money works and how to utilize that to generate income to sustain someone's lifestyle. At a very high level, it's based on the 4% rule, which suggests that one can safely withdraw 4% of their portfolio invested in the stock market like the S&P 500 for at least a 30-year period of retirement. Now, this is the high level of what the FIRE movement is, and it certainly isn't the only flavor. As you begin to do more research and learn more about the FIRE movement, you quickly realize that everyone have a different financial needs, circumstances, and all this stuff, their age. So the 4% is actually not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's more of a guideline and general rule of thumb. So there's a lot of people actually don't use this 4% safe withdrawal rate, and that's myself included. I actually use a different safe withdrawal rate. And I guess I'll talk more about that in the future because it does warrant a separate video on my decisions to not use 4% and why I chose the percentage that I chose. So one of the things that I'm working on right now is the FIRE calculator. And with this simple FIRE calculator, my intention is to have people come to this website, plug in their numbers, a few simple numbers, and be able to project their financial futures and see what it looks like. And also the ability to tweak it to see how much an extra $200 savings would impact their financial future. One of the issues that I ran into while testing this is I realized that the asset needs to be split up. So for example, if someone have home equity built up, even though that portion still accounts for their net worth, they cannot live off of home equity. So if I were to treat both of these types in one single asset category, I cannot just assume that this entire amount minus debt to be able to just generate you income the same way that a portfolio potentially might be able to. But this isn't to say that if you have a home or home equity or a mortgage, then you cannot FIRE. It is certainly doable. There's so many different flavors of FIRE, and there's also reasons why you might want to keep a mortgage while you FIRE. I'll talk more about that in a future video. But one of the bloggers that I really like, I consider them the first generation FIREes. Their blog is The Millennial Revolution, and their entire story is to FIRE without owning a home. And they intentionally chose to not own a home so that they can invest all the money that's associated with purchasing a home. Legal costs, down payments, I don't know, maintenance fees, all that kind of stuff. And they were able to achieve FIRE. And yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, so it is doable. I have a link to their blog on the resource section on simplyfreely.com, and I highly recommend you check it out. They actually share their numbers, something that I'm not comfortable doing yet. I don't know if I ever will. I don't know. Because I don't want people to compare, because everyone's lifestyle is different, their needs are different. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah, all that to say is it is doable. But when projecting the financial independence number, I think I need to separate out the assets. The long-term vision for this FIRE calculator is to plug into all the other tools and calculators that I'll be creating on this website. Because I think once you have the data, you can visualize so many different scenarios. And that's one of the things I had on my spreadsheet to help me project and motivate me to save money aggressively. And that's what I'm trying to do, is to bring all these things that I've learned on my journey so that I can share with other people. And because I think financial data is rather sensitive, personal, I chose not to store the data in a remote database so that everything you entered in this website would store within the browser that you use. So one, you own your data, and two, it actually helps simplifies my development because I don't have to run a database, maintain a database, and pay for the cost of a database. So for this approach, I think it's certainly different than a lot of web apps where they would store your data. There are drawbacks of this approach, which is the inability to sync your data between your phone and your computer. If you start it on your computer, then the data would be on your computer. But I think that's a trade-off that I'm okay with right now until I see a need to sync, and I'll figure it out then. But yeah, I think it's exciting to build up this web app. So that's what I'm working on right now. I'm gonna finish this shake, take a quick shower, and then I'm gonna do a bit of meal prepping for the week. So why am I not wanting to return to the traditional work environment or the rat race? I think one of the things you might be thinking of is like, well, you've achieved financial freedom, you've reached FIRE, why the hell would you return to work? Now, here's the thing. It's not that I don't want to work. If there's anything that I've learned on this journey, it's been 4 years since I left my job, my last job. The one thing that I need to do is constantly keep myself occupied. I need work. I appreciate work. But every time I think about going back to work, what stressed me out the most, I don't think I fit into that environment. And I'll talk more about this in a second. But first, I want to dispel a misconception about the FIRE movement and financial freedom. I think a lot of people think that, well, people who reach FIRE or have financial freedom means that they're rich. So they have all the money in the world to spend and to do anything they want, whenever they want. I don't think that's true at all. In the FIRE community, there are all types and levels of FIRE. Yes, there is a subset of people who choose to do fat FIRE, which is to save up so much money that they would never ever have to worry about the money. But in order to do so, it's much harder. And those people probably did a combination of making a lot of money and saved a lot of money, which allowed them to do that. But for the average person, I think the most achievable type of FIRE is the traditional sense or the lean FIRE way. And the whole FIRE movement really started by people who are naturally frugal, who live within their means and who appreciate simpler things in life. And that's exactly the type of personality and characteristics that allowed them to achieve FIRE so early. And that's also the message that I want to share and hope more people can learn more about this FIRE movement, because yes, sitting here talking to you about this FIRE movement, financial freedom at an early age sounds like a privilege and a very fortunate position to be in. But what I want to say to that is it is so doable for many people. It's not this elusive thing that's unattainable and only if you won the lottery. It's none of that. It's definitely not easy because you need to have such a determination to increase your income and to reduce your expense and to save as much as you can and aggressively invest into the stock market. And it comes with a lot of sacrifices, but it is doable. And I hope people don't compare themselves with other people who achieve FIRE or is on their own journey of FIRE or whatever. Comparison is really a thief of joy because everyone have very different financial circumstances, have different needs in life, right? Have different goals in life. So comparison is just a fool's game and there's no winning in comparing. I wish that more people can see and appreciate the simpler things in life. There is such thing as enough. I think the stress and anxiety in this world is caused by this insatiable desire to chase after more, whether or not that's a higher title, more paycheck, more material things, more status, more friends, popularity contests, all this stuff that don't matter. And if only they can realize how peaceful living a simple life, appreciating the simplest things can bring, I think the world would be a much better place. I'm not saying it's a perfect life. In future videos, like I want to share all the good and the bad of this type of lifestyle and the bad sides of FIRE. I'm not the type of person to enforce a belief onto other people. I am simply sharing my story so that other people can be aware that this lifestyle exists. It's not just climbing that corporate ladder. This lifestyle exists and it's doable. So back to why I don't want to go back to the traditional work sense. So it's not that I don't want to work. If there's anything that I learned on this journey so far, it's been 4 years since I quit my job. One thing I learned is that work is so important. Whenever I don't do anything and just drift through life, that period is the most depressing period that I have. And that's why I have to constantly fill my mind and occupy my time, working on side projects. Now I started simplyfreely.com, making YouTube videos. These are all tools I have to keep myself busy and also making sure that I exercise my creative and cognitive brain so that I don't deteriorate. Because once you stop using your body, right? If you stop exercising, it'll just give up and, gain weight and become unhealthy. I think our mind is the same as well. So it's very important to work. And I appreciate that. What I don't appreciate is working at a corporation in that rat race environment. And I'm not gonna lie, I thought about returning to work several times during this 4-year period. Because in a way, it gives you this structure of things you need to do, deadlines to hit, a well-defined set of work, which I want. I like that. And it also gives you a very predictable paycheck. And every time I hear about my friends, how much they make now, it's insane. Absolutely insane how much salary has increased in the last 4 years in software engineering. It's crazy. If you're in the US, Silicon Valley or whatever, not even Silicon Valley, anywhere in the US that has a tech company, they pay insane. But I'm not gonna compare, everyone's different circumstances. And this is the part where even though I achieve FIRE, I still struggle with these temptations of comparing and desires and stuff like that. But here's the thing, as much as I'm tempted to go back to work for that lucrative paycheck and a structured work life, the thing that I can't really get over is having to work with people. Now, I think the job itself, the technical side, those are the trivial part. At times, I feel like if it's a factory kind of setting, I would much rather that and just go to work and do my job. But the thing is, working with people is so draining. At times, I feel like, what's that word? It's like emotional abuse, I've worked with selfish people. I worked with all sorts of people. I worked with backstabbing people, non-team players, delusional managers, people who are incompetent leading a team. Like, I've worked with so many different types of people, and it's that dynamic that drains the hell out of me. And I don't think I'm compatible in that environment. I'm just not very good at like being able to survive in that environment. Everyone brings their issues, their traumas to everywhere they go, at work, at family, in relationships, and that's the human experience. All I'm saying is, like, I don't think I'm meant to be able to deal with that, and I've accepted that fact. As much as they say, oh, you can work on your people skills and deal with this better, and it's good for your personal growth, like, I don't want to grow in that environment. Like, I can't, like, I don't want to grow in that direction. Like, I just want to be me, living a simple life, appreciating simple things. And let me tell you, there's so much peace living this simple life. And that's another thing, sidetracking a little bit, like, this 4 years has been the most growth that I've experienced personally, like on a personal growth level, than I have ever in my entire life. That's because I'm able to like sit back and not be impacted by that energy of like other people's issues. And I'm able to process and internalize and reflect on a lot of these things around me a lot more. And that desire to compare with my friends and everyone who's making a lot more money than I am, like, yes, sometimes I feel behind, but here's how I think about that. I chose a life where I can have free time in my life back. Yes, I don't make the amount of money that software engineers make nowadays, but what I do have is the time that I get to experience and do things that I truly appreciate and want to do. And if I think about it, a lot of times I feel like I'm still saving and thinking and acting as if I'm in my 20s, saving for my future. And then here I am realizing I'm 40 soon and that I don't live forever, and that every day is a gift, and the ability to spend that however I want without needing to justify to my company to take a sick day. Like, I think that in itself is a gift, and I really, really am grateful for that. So that's one reason, the people. Another reason is I think that competition is quite toxic. Now, I get the argument that competition sparks innovation and that competition is necessary to bring prices down and to bring more value to the general public. But here's the thing. I don't know about other industries, but probably the same. In tech, it's cutthroat and there's a lot of politics, and I'm just not engineered for that. And I think, to me, I've never been a competitive person. Like, when I play games and stuff, like, I'm not playing to win, I'm playing to have fun and looking for ways to improve my skills. And the way I look at competition is me versus me, to see if I can beat myself yesterday, so that I know that, hey, I'm a better version of myself than yesterday. And I think in our society, in tech particularly, and I think in everything in life, it's so competitive that this mindset of me, and it's like, well, you see people during rush hours weaving in and out of like tiny gaps, just save a few seconds. Like, that type of mentality is like as if their time is worth more than anyone else around them. Like, I don't like that. And I think competition in a way kind of encourages this behavior, because you have to be ahead to succeed, to win. But then, like, if you think about it further, it's like, what is winning in life, right? We're all gonna end up in the same place. It's such a silly game to compete. I feel like we kind of lost a bit of our humanity about building a common thing together to take care of this planet that we're on. Everything that we should be doing collectively, I think because of competition, we are kind of lost as a generation, as a society. And I don't want to be a part of that. That's why being in the corporate rat race kind of sense just encourages that behavior, which I really don't like. And, like, I get it. Company needs to compete to survive, but that's just not me. Yeah, I don't like that. And then finally, like I touched upon this point a bit already, catching up with the Joneses. Sometimes I wonder, like exec levels, like CEOs, and like all these people who makes like insane amount of money, why do they need to keep making more money? Just non-stop, multi-billionaires. Don't they have enough? Why are they like so power hungry, money hungry? Like what more do they want? This level of mindset can also be applied to anyone around us. There is a level of enough. And I don't think many people recognize what enough is, because that bar just keeps on moving along with everyone else in the society. So when the next door neighbor, the Joneses, move their bar to a higher level, then you feel like, oh, now you have to make more to buy a nicer car or to buy a bigger house, whatever they bought, now you want it. And it's just like nonstop. I also don't want to participate in that. Here's the thing about all these things that I mentioned. It's not a simple matter of trading your time for money. If it was that easy, I'd happily trade my time for that money. But it's the stress that comes with it. The higher up you go in the corporate ladder, in the rat race, you know, catching up with the Joneses, you're so like fixated on wanting to make more money and at all cost, then you become this person that you might not even recognize that you've become. Back then, I feel like everything was about me getting to my job, me delivering this project, me getting whatever I want, whenever I want, because that's what the society is telling us. You know, you go to Starbucks, you can customize your drinks. You go to McDonald's, you can customize your burgers. Everything is all about you. But like, I don't think that's healthy. People are not there to serve us. Like, people are just doing their job and trying their best. And here's the thing. Ever since I left my job, I feel like I changed for the better. I no longer get annoyed because the bus is late. I no longer get frustrated in traffic. I think it's important for us to like take a step back and recognize who is it that we want to be. Like, if the bus is late, maybe the bus driver had a bad day. Maybe the bus driver had an accident coming to wherever that bus stop is. So that's all the reasons why I think I don't want to go back to the traditional work sense rat race. At least that I can think of right now. If I do forget something, I'll reiterate in a future video. If more people can recognize enough and that there is a way out of this rat race, I feel like the world can be a better place. So for the next video, I am going to talk about the how. How did I achieve financial freedom? How was I able to leave the rat race? And I hope it'll be helpful for you. And hopefully I'll have that fire calculator finished. I need to refactor some code and fix up a few things. That way you can plug in your numbers and see where you're at so that you can work towards your goal as well. Because I think the how of my story and that calculator kind of plays very nicely together.